follow.
I have started the thing, Natasha, and we are back with episode 2 of the news review from The Resident with Natasha Donn. Thank you, everybody, for your kind words last week with our inaugural debut issue of this podcast. 30 minutes, said Isaac, went by so quickly. This was great. Looking forward to next week's podcast. Well, here we are. Great to see you doing this and adding to your impressive portfolio. We'll take that, won't we? Yeah, that's from Clive. Love this. You're so fabulous. And Natasha also, such a great pair. We're being called a great pair already, Natasha. And some question marks about the production quality at your end, but we're working on that, aren't we?
I know. We are working on it, apparently.
Yes. Now, 3 news stories. That's how we roll here. 3 news stories that have piqued your interest and that you'd like to bring to the attention of people. As we dig a little deeper into the news, you're covering the Portuguese news all week long. And these are 3 stories that you'd like to talk a little bit more about from a slightly different angle, Natasha. What's the first one?
Well, the reason I'm choosing these stories, as opposed to the stories that are all over the media, which are pretty graphic and horrific, including Bombeiros sodomizing a new recruit. I just thought, well, I'm not going to go into that because everybody will be talking about it. Everybody will have a point of view of it. And I think there are so many other things going on behind the scenes that actually the authorities don't want us to know about. Things that put the authorities in quite a bad light. So, first story, we've got...
And maybe I should add, on the Bombeiros inquiry, that is an inquiry as it stands. This is an allegation, isn't it, of a young recruit?
Well, I think it's been all caught on CCTV. I think it would be very difficult to say it's an allegation. At this point.
Well, I'm so sorry to hear of this. I was disgusted by that because we had said, hadn't we? And we often
particularly as last week we said the Bombeiros were the most wonderful people in the world, and then this week they're sodomizing a young man. So it's not so ideal. But obviously, it was just a small selection of Bombeiros.
Yes. Well, of course. The bad apples, as it were. So we're going to I was going to call it the Royal Mint. It's not called that here in Portugal.
No. Okay. So this story, it started a few weeks ago with the PCP, which are the communists in Parliament, raising a question which has not been answered. And their question was, why was Portugal allowing Israel to mint 2 million coins in the Casa do Moeda, which is like saying our mint.
Yes.
And they obviously were raising the question on the basis of Israel being widely thought to have been committing a genocide. It's really not on anyone's good books. And so why have they come to Portugal? Why is even Portugal entertaining producing these coins, particularly as our mint is doing perfectly well? It's not like we need business. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So the question just fell on stony ground, which was quite interesting, really. It also wasn't really given much airing in the media. It's as if you can almost feel that people have been told, stay away from this. There was a sort of...
Is that a red rag to a bull for you?
No, it wasn't that it was a red rag to the bull. I just was thinking, well, why is everybody... This is happening, and there was a protest against it. I mean, a desultory protest, not a large one, maybe about, I don't know, I can't remember how many I said, but about 50 people, I think. But anyway, I was thinking, what could be behind this? Why would Israel come here, of all places, to mint 2 million coins? And that made me think about all the gold that we've got that nobody talks about. So we have...
You whisper about the Portugal's gold that we've got. But
it's about our gold. Is that when I wrote about it about 10 years ago, the gold that we had was only worth 13 billion, only 13 billion euros. But it's now worth 46 billion. That's a lot of gold, isn't it? I mean, there's a lot of...
It's a you're right to whisper.
And the reason
this be an intriguing thing.
And the intriguing thing, so what's the connection between Israel, Portugal, and Portugal's gold? Well, Portugal's gold was amassed during the Second World War.
Yeah.
And it came largely, or almost entirely, from from the Germans, who were paying the dictator or the regime of the time for wolfram, which was being used in the weapons. It's very strong metal.
Yes.
I think it's the same as tungsten, but I'm not sure. Anyway, wolfram was being mined in Portugal, as indeed the European Commission wants to start mining it again, and it has already polluted a large area of Portugal, and the waterways are still carrying heavy metals. So, in return for selling this wolfram, the dictator Salazar only accepted gold, because he knew that if he asked the Germans for money, they'd just give him forged notes.
Amazing.
Apparently.
Yeah.
So he got all this gold. Now, the trouble is, the gold was not actually belonging to the Nazis. They had looted it from European central banks and later from victims of the Holocaust.
Yeah. So
obviously there is this, the historian that told this story that I then picked up, he said that this is the time for a proper commission, he said, led by the Americans, to investigate the provenance of all the gold that is held by countries like Portugal and try and give people restitution. Well, of course, Portugal's having none of it. So maybe
it's like Portugal takes a view, the Treasury takes a view, it's our gold and we're keeping it.
Exactly. But the way my mind worked was, is this why Israel has come to Portugal to mint its coins? Because presumably nobody else wants to mint its coins. Maybe it's got leverage that way.
Incredible.
I mean, it just got my mind working. And I thought, isn't it interesting that the PCP brought this up, that there's been a...
Sorry, what's the PCP?
PCP are the communists.
Oh, okay, yes.
Isn't it interesting that the communists have brought this up, that there's been a protest and no one has said anything beyond that? I mean, it's as quiet as quiet. No one's given any answers. It's like, oh, no, we don't want to talk about this.
What do you think is the likely outcome then? Do you think that's the way it will stay? The news agenda will move on, and this will
that's the way it will stay. I mean, the way things go is that when it gets a bit iffy, you then say, oh, we'll open an inquiry.
Yes.
And then that inquiry, you never hear about it again.
Mm. Do you have a personal view on this? What would you like to see? Would you like to see an inquiry into who the gold really
what I would like to see is, I would like to see Portugal use some of that gold to build kind of additions to towns just for young people. And these additions, I'd like, if you think they've got 46 billion, wouldn't it be great if they said, okay, 6 billion, we'll just take 6 billion. And we'll build new towns just for young people with accessible housing.
It is extraordinary. You're right. Because think of it in that way, because we accept the kind of the dominant economic models for which Federal Reserves are meant to be based on gold reserves, aren't they? And you would think, well, okay, if it's a Federal Reserve, if it's a gold reserve, that money might be used in the country's economy that owns the gold. That's what you're talking about.
Apparently it can be used for social reasons, and it has been, because when Salazar amassed all this gold, he had 866 tons or something. And now in the Bank of Portugal, there's only 383 tons, 300 tons or that. I can't remember. I wrote this story. Let's have a look.
So there's a Scooby-Doo mystery part.
Yeah, it's a total mystery. Because where have all the tons gone? Hang on, where is it? I've written it somewhere.
Was this your sitting on the Nazi gold, the extraordinary truth behind?
Yeah, but I'm just trying to see how many tons, because we've got 383 tons now, but there were 866 tons.
Where's the missing gold?
Where has 483 tons gone?
That's amazing. We'll leave that hanging there as a mystery. Okay. We may return to this, but of course you would be intrigued by that.
I found that really
Israeli coins and the missing gold. Do let us know in the comments what you think about that. Obviously, controversial on a number of levels there. Where are we going next, Natasha?
Okay, the next one is just a terrible story, and again, it shows how the authorities are not. Really drag their heels when they want to. So this is a story that actually it began 3 years ago, when an enormous amount of rocks fell onto a house in the middle of the night and killed 2 young people who were sleeping in their beds.
Good Lord.
And the rest of the family obviously had the most horrendous experience of their lives, because one of the young people was still alive for quite some time, and they couldn't get the rocks off her. They called the firemen, and the firemen came, and they had no equipment to help. And this is just the most unbelievable story, but it gets worse, because the reason all this stuff fell on a little avenue of houses is what should be now being investigated.
Yes.
The local people say this was an accident that was waiting to happen, because there had been building above these houses on a piece of land, and this particular project had been stopped or not allowed to go forwards on numerous occasions because of the danger it posed, and then suddenly it was allowed to go forwards, and then this happened. So there was a huge amount of local anger, but they were waiting for experts to say, yes, this is the problem, and this is, this shouldn't have happened, and so is guilty, because these people, they really do deserve compensation. I mean, I can't tell you the interview I listened to when I was researching this, the interview I listened to of the mother, it was just, you just couldn't fail to feel like bursting into tears, what she had to go through. So you would imagine that 3 years on, something had been done, but it hasn't. Nothing has been done. The houses are still, the people are still incapable of moving back into their homes. The rocks have not been properly removed. No inquiry has gone forward. And apparently this month, November, was the cutoff month when any kind of court case could be lodged. And so the poor mother, who went through this agonizing experience, has now had to take on the authorities. So she's
alone, effectively.
On her own. I think she may be being backed by the other homeowners who can't go back to their houses. I think there's 4 families who can't go back to their houses.
Let me get this straight. This is where is it? Where is
this is a place called Palmeira de Faro.
Yes,
and it's in a little town, I suppose, called Esposende, which is in the borough of Moita. Now, I sound very knowledgeable when I say all this. I haven't got a clue where it is, because everything when you live in the Algarve is up north. So.
Okay. but the problem here is that it's kind of been filibustered out of a situation where people should rightly receive justice and compensation. And time is dragged by, and these are sort of forgotten victims of a situation. Whilst the world has moved on, they've been left with this horrible situation. It's an Erin Brockovich style situation, isn't it? They need a championing lawyer to come in.
Well, they have got a lawyer, thank God. Right. But I mean, one of the things that really rankles in this situation is that the people who should have been making a kind of inquiry, a bit like when you get an expert that comes in when you've had a car crash, it's called a peritage here. I don't know what you'd call it.
Expert witness. Perhaps.
Yeah, expert witness. So they got this expert witness, and he was belonging to the Order of Technical Engineers, it's called here. And he took 8 months before he said, I can't do this. Really? And his reasons for not being able to do it included, my dad's got a sausage factory and I've got to help him. It's just like, what?
Right,
what,
so
it
reeks of cover up and complacency and incompetence.
Yeah, but then they said, well, can you name another expert technical, person? Yeah. And the Order of Technical Engineers said, no, sorry, we can't. Can you imagine? So what is the Order of Technical Engineers all about?
Indeed. Yeah, there's a horrible sense of cover-up. And
it really is layers and layers of opacity, I think is the word.
Yes, incredible. Well, we can only hope for justice for these poor people who found themselves in this situation.
Well, yes, I just suddenly thought maybe because sometimes when a really unpleasant thing is only in one language, other languages don't get to hear about it. And I thought, oh, maybe if we talk about it, somebody might pick it up, or something might happen.
Yes, it's a human rights issue, essentially, isn't it? The right to justice.
You're right. It's a sort of Erin Brockovich thing. And there's so many of those here anyway.
Okay, interesting. So this is not unusual.
No, I don't mean necessarily. They're not lots of cases of people having boulders falling onto their children at night. But there are lots and lots of cases where people like Erin Brockovich would be needed.
Amazing. Okay, so we can only hope from our point of view, I suspect. Thank you for bringing that to people's attention, and hopefully it will be picked up, and more publicity will come their way that will ultimately help them with that. Another justice story, really. This time in the world of education.
This is another one that is weirdly bizarre, and there are ulterior forces at play. There must be. So this is about a little school that started in Al Jazoud, funnily enough, where I live. And it's an international school, and it actually started alongside the Al Jazour Secondary School. The Camera was really happy to have it in the municipality, because they said, this is great. This is going to encourage more foreigners to come and live here, which of course it did. And they were in, this is also interesting, they were in containers that were authorized by the Ministry of Education. And this was a very interesting point, because the Ministry of Education said, yes, you can have your little school and you can have the containers, but you can only rent from this one company, because this is the only company we will allow you to rent from. And that company was incredibly expensive. They had to pay something like 60,000 straight up front. And then they were paying X number of thousand every month to rent these little containers. So after about a couple of years, they were looking for alternative premises, because they were on a small piece of land next door to a secondary school. And they found this wonderful property and moved into it, I think, in 2013. They had a technical inspection from the Ministry of Education. Everything was cool. Everything was fine. They got it all signed off, and they got what's called their permanent license as an international school. And with the permanent license, they got a special code, which meant that they could be constantly updated with information from the Ministry of Education, and they could equally update the Ministry of Education with things like children numbers and details and all the things you need to do when you're a school in this country. So they were doing really well, and they were getting more and more children, and they're a very, very good school. They really pride themselves on nurturing their pupils, because they have very small class sizes.
Yep.
And then suddenly, in about 2019 or so, they got this weird information that their license wasn't their license at all. And this
out of the blue, is it?
Oh, well, you don't have a license. And they said, what do you mean you don't have a license? We've got this paper here, and we got that, and we got this code. No, you don't have a license. You're unlicensed. And they said, well, when did that happen? Well, we don't know, but you're not licensed. So this went on for a while. They got a lawyer, obviously. And then suddenly in 2022, they were told they had to close. So their lawyer was fantastic. And I went to a couple of meetings he had with the parents. He said, listen, if necessary, we'll take this to the European courts. They put in an injunction with the local administrative and fiscal court, and the school reopened. And then the whole plan, I presumed, and I think the owners of the school, the directors of the school presumed, the whole plan was to get all the paperwork sorted. And then in October, so we're now 2025, 5 GNR men and a couple of people from the Ministry of Education suddenly walked into the school and said, this is being compulsorily closed as of now. It was in the middle of the day. I mean,
that's terrifying for the kids.
5 GNR men. Can you imagine?
Yes,
luckily, I think the children are fairly
robust.
Yes, they're very robust. I think that's a great word for it.
Yes.
And the Portuguese director of the school is wonderful. But they're both wonderful. But the Portuguese director said, look, this is not the way you do things with children. Yeah. I am not shutting the school now. The children's parents are all working. The bus driver doesn't come here till 3:00. This is not, we're not doing this. We're not sending the children out into the hedgerows just
because. A brilliantly measured and grown-up response.
Yeah. So the GNR men went, and the Ministry of Education people went, and they all disappeared, snickering and yelping down the path. And then they came back at 3:00 and said, right, it's closing.
Now we're closing. Okay, yeah.
So wow. then the directors had to put in another injunction. And what was unfortunate was that the administrative and fiscal courts of the country at the moment are in a state of chaos because they've just changed their computer system. And the computer system has apparently sent all the cases to the wrong judges and some cases have been lost. So that hasn't helped. But fortunately, the parents came up with their own injunction, which was a very urgent one because it was all to do with the superior interests of the children.
Yes, very good.
And the judge yesterday.
Well,
Wednesday. The judge on Wednesday said, the parents are right. There is no danger of the children learning in this school because the Ministry of Education's reasons for not giving a license appear, although this can't be true, and they haven't admitted that it's true, but they appear to center on the height of the ceilings. It's such a terrible school.
Tenuous
the ceilings
idea,
are apparently 15 centimeters or something too short, too low.
Well, you can't have children being educated in a classroom where the ceiling's too low by 15 centimeters, can you?
Well, I mean, in Ukraine, they're actually being educated by flashlight. So, and no one's complaining there.
Right, so, what are we seeing here, Natasha? This is the reopening, and the parents or the teachers here are very resourcefully using the GNR ribbon to cut through as they're reopening the school. Is that what's happening here?
Yeah, that's just lovely. I just had to put that in. That's the two directors. That's Karen on the right and Sylvia on the left. And they're cutting through the GNR tape because the GNR taped up the school as if it was a sort of crime scene.
Yes.
And the thing is, the school has chickens and ducks and a beautiful cat. And all these animals had to step over the tape every day to get to their food and stuff. Well, no, obviously not that tape because that tape's very high. But the children were not allowed back. And what is behind this? Well, this is
well, that's what I wanted to ask you. What's this seems particularly dear to you.
It does.
Something at stake
well,
here,
I just don't like any situations where people are not being truthful. Yes. Why would you need to close a school that is and this is another thing I forgot to say. The education minister was being interviewed on radio. It was over a weekend, and he was being asked why this school had to close. And he said, it's a bit like an unlicensed pharmacy selling drugs that are not certified. And I thought, how can you say that about a school that not only was invited into the municipality by the council, it did everything it was ever told to do. It is teaching a curriculum that is recognized by the Portuguese authorities. It is affiliated to UNESCO. It is a Cambridge board exam center.
Yep.
It is actually got a connection also with the CPCJ, which is the Commission for the Protection of Children and Young People in Portugal. So it's done anything any school should do. How can you possibly say it's an unlicensed pharmacy selling uncertified drugs as if it was selling Botox with concrete in? I mean, no, these children are coming out with A-levels. Do you know what I mean? They're not coming out with Botox with concrete in.
Well, it's very interesting, isn't it? There's an irony here, isn't there? That the child protection element is actually would appear to be injurious to the children. in this instance, which is one of the great ironies and injustices of this particular story?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what I think might be behind this. And it was so, you don't need to be Sherlock Holmes to even try and work this out. No, but true. The week that this happened, Espresso carried an enormous article about the large educational groups that were arriving in Portugal and spending millions to attract children to their schools that were huge, but they are, these new big places for people who've come here on golden visas or
international schools. Are we talking about?
Huh?
Are we talking about new international schools?
Yes, new international schools.
Yeah.
It probably in the areas like where you are.
Possibly, yes. I mean, there's certainly that's happening. Yes,
exactly.
And what's the connection, Natasha, between?
Well, I think the connection is they don't want schools like this one because this school prides itself on giving a really exclusive education at an accessible price. And new international schools pride themselves on giving you a kind an education at the highest price possible. Mm-hmm. And so they don't need schools that are really doing a worthwhile job at an affordable price.
Okay,
that's my feeling.
Fair enough. Well, that's what this is about. Your particular angle on the 3 news stories that you choose every week. We do this every Friday morning. It's published later on in the day on a Friday afternoon. Thank you very much for those. I do want to draw everybody's attention to the Tuesday morning Briefly News. I really enjoyed that. Is that going to be a new feature?
Oh, well, I tell you, no, but the reason I did the Tuesday morning Briefly News, I'll tell you why it is. Normally, I write for the web every day, but on Tuesday, it's press day. And Inez, my editor, says, I need 8 briefs. And I go, oh my God, those were stories I was going to write, but I now haven't got time because I've got to do the lead and I've got to do the this and that. So then I just do these briefs just for the paper and I just put them online because otherwise I've done nothing.
Yes, I think these are great. This could be a happy accident
I liked my Briefly News. I had it in the old days on the last website. But then when they did this new makeover, there's no space for Briefly News.
Okay.
So I did say something, but nobody ever listens to me. This is the thing. They keep me well in the dark.
They do, Natasha. And this is where they hear you on the Resident
Yeah, they'll probably be quite cross now.
Maybe we'll find out if we're back next week or not.
And maybe next week we'll have a better picture.
Okay. In what sense? Oh, of a better image. Your cameraman. Tune in next week to find out if Natasha has improved her production quality, and we can leave you with these very interesting stories. The November the 25th celebration, the lesser-known revolutionary coup day, was on the 25th, wasn't it? And these are great stories. I'd love to see this. I'd love to see this. Here.
Yeah, I like doing it, but I mean, yes, I could do it every day if I just wanted some slots, little slots down the side of the page, but I didn't get them.
Well, let's see what happens this week. There was something that we don't have time to talk about today, but adult vaccination of the flu, the new flu strain.
Oh no, I want to.
Winter heading our way. What's happened? Do you want to talk briefly about that, or should we?
I do. I definitely want to talk about adult vaccination because I think this is absolutely a disgrace. They're trying to have a schedule to make adults now line up for vaccinations. We don't need that. Adults are fine. That we've got to this stage and we've got our own immunities. We don't need to be starting to be pinpricked just because of the the pharmaceutical.
This was to do with the flu campaign. This is something else, is it?
No, this is another load of old people who seem to think that now we must all have the adults with a special thing. You must have your COVID, you must have your flu, you must have goodness knows what else. They'll find something against ingrowing toenails, probably. I don't know, but whatever it is, we don't need it.
Right. Okay. Well, let's leave that hanging there. We may pick up on that next week. We may not, because a harsh and hard winter has been forecast. With
but that's a load of old rubbish. I mean,
okay. Well, let's find out if that's the case. If you choose to pick up on that next week, Natasha Donn, thank you so much for your 3 news picks this week. And we'll talk to you again next week and wish you a bon fin semana. Thank you for tuning in to the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe. Take care. Bye for now. Bon fin semana. Ciao, ciao.
Bye, bye.